to Represented, the podcast. I'm Aniki Shuru, racial equity coach for online business owners who want to be intentionally inclusive by building a business that is racially equitable. I created this podcast to normalize a conversation around racial inclusion so that fear is no longer the barrier that gets in the way of doing this work. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Whether you're taking your first steps or you're well-versed in the journey towards racial equity, this space is for you. So welcome home, friend. Let's get started. From coast to coast, around the globe, we are represented. Welcome back to another episode of Represented Podcast with Aniki Shuru. And today I've got an incredible guest for you, and you're going to love Enda Gilbert, because today we're talking about the journey of being a Black business owner, the barriers that one has to face because of how we identify and the challenges, but also the highs of building a business. We talk all things burnout. We talk about that village that we need in order to thrive. And this is an episode you do not want to miss, but let me tell you who Enda is. She is the founder of Enda Gilbert Coaching and Consultancy, a business devoted to the well-being and education of teens and their families and educators. With a career that spans over 28 years, yes, 28, and Enda does not look anything but like she's had a career for that long. Enda's journey from the classroom to high school admin has enabled her to guide countless families through the complexities of adolescence. Her journey into this vocation was not by chance. Witnessing the struggles and triumphs of teens and their parents, especially those from migrant and refugee backgrounds, has taught her the invaluable role of empathy, understanding, and cultural sensitivity in parenting. Enda's professional expertise complements her personal experiences as a parent and a survivor of burnout, which have significantly shaped her approach to coaching. Enda is also a published contributor author of Undefeated, 90 Migrant Women, 116 Journeys, where she shares her experiences and challenges of a first-time mom in a foreign land raising a child without a village. Through her coaching business, Enda aims to illuminate the path for parents, enabling them not to just survive, but to thrive alongside their teens. Her philosophy is simple yet profound. When parents thrive, children flourish. Take a listen. Hey there, Enda. I'm so excited to have you on today. It's been a long time coming, and I'm excited that you're here. And I want to begin by asking, you are an internationally certified parental burnout practitioner. How did you get here?
First, thank you for having me. I've been actually looking forward to have this conversation with you. So yeah, burnout international. So I'm gonna start with my journey as a migrant coming here, right? And then it will lead into the burnout. So I came to Australia, of course, alone. I come from the small island, Seychelles, and me being a person, I wanted to, I dream big, and I just went back home. I did with my first degree. Yeah, I did it here in Australia. And then I wanted to come back to do a master's. So then I said, okay, because I couldn't get a scholarship because I did got a scholarship for my first degree. So obviously it makes sense that not to give me another scholarship for my master's. So then I said, okay, I'm going to come back and I'll work and do my master's while doing it. And then I'll go back home, right? So this is what I did. I came back and it was easy for me to get a job in the field of education because I studied here. So start working and progress you know, in my career, and then have a child, right? And as you know, when you're migrant, you're away from family, and when you have a child, and like we said before, it's you everything, right? You don't have that support, and like we always hear, it takes a village to raise a child.
It does.
But when you are here, you don't have that village, right?
Yeah.
So I find myself, and also with my culture, I'm sure it's yours the same, where child come first, the child come
Absolutely.
first, the child come
Yes.
first. So being a first-time mom, away from the family, away from everyone, so the child come first. So and that's what I did, you know, and I wanted the best for him. And at the same time, because I'm a very ambitious person, I still wanted the best for me as well professionally. So I find that I didn't have that balance. So I was giving everything, motherhood, professional. So I was giving 110% for
Yeah.
all, right? So then what happened is just that, to cut a long story short, I noticed that my vision started to get blurry, right? And I said, maybe I need to change my glasses, you know? And again, because, you know, I was that person who didn't make time for myself. So I put this on the back burner. I say, yeah, I get round to it. I will do it. I need to change my glasses. But one morning I woke up and I can barely see, right? In one eye, in my left eye, I couldn't see in my left eye.
Wow.
And then I'm like, no, today I got to do it. So instead of going to work, I went to do my normal eye test, you know. And then I remember the doctor who was doing the eye test, and he goes, something is happening to your eyesight. And I don't know why, because it happened drastically and it's not normal for your age.
Wow.
Yeah. And it said, you need to see an eye surgeon ASAP. And
Oh,
I'm like, oh my gosh. So then in front of me, he called the surgeon, and he said, and I could hear his conversation. He said, it's you need to see her urgently. So I got the appointment the next day, you
yeah.
know, and we did some tests. And the surgeon told me that I've lost 80% of my vision in my left eye.
Oh my gosh.
But what they found, what they baffled them, is because I don't have hypertension. I've never done any eye surgery or any eye infection, never.
Right.
So they were finding this really strange. So then they started doing a lot. I did a lot of tests. And then they find out that I got inflammation, a lot of inflammation in my body. And this, like, the protein was attacking my eyes, right?
Yeah.
So, and then like what we call uveitis as
Mm-hmm.
well. So then I'm like, but what caused this? You know, what has caused this? You know, and then the more tests done, you find out that it leads to stress,
Wow.
right? And of course, then to be honest, I was really blessed to be able to work with a whole team of people, and I got the support, psychological support, because I couldn't see in my left eye, right? And yeah, so then I realized that I have to change my way of living, and I had to change how I see things and how I do things, and that I need to put myself first,
So
right?
it was a
And
personal journey. It was a personal incident that kind of led you here.
yes, and like I said, it's because I always tell my clients, like, it's very silent. Burnout can happen in a very subtle and silent way where we don't even realize that, it's just, oh yeah, I'm just stressed, I'm just tired, but we don't realize the impact it's having on our internal system, and everything. So yeah, and from there, I changed everything, Annie, from the way I eat, my mindset. It was a long journey of unlearning a lot of things. Again, because there's some culture things that I had to let go of, right? For me to be able to heal. And yeah, and so that's when I went to study in parental burnout for me, so that I can get that knowledge to
Yes.
heal myself and to like, I like to call it integration, life
Mhm.
integration. So I can integrate things. I can be the best mom, I can be the best wife, but also
Yes.
a professional that can still progress with my careers, And I wanted to share what I've learned and to put the message out there that yes, we need to thrive as mom, not just survive. We have to take care of ourselves. And that's how I ended up in parental burnout.
What a story, because I had no clue. I had no idea. I did not know that piece of your story. So, for anybody who's listening, we are learning this together. This is not something I had pre-read or, and I think what is important to note here, and I am hearing is we come from cultures globally. We are engaging cultures that glorify the busyness. Oh, I'm so busy. I don't
Mm,
have time for
mm,
that. You're just on the move. And the more you move, the more you feel like you're making a difference, you're impacting, because the moment you stop, then why are you stopping? And so we've been very
yes.
much part of a culture of go, go, go. And if I can keep going, if I can do the best in
Mm,
my job and I
mm,
can be the best mom, then I am
yeah,
ticking all the boxes. But the moment I take it slow, the moment I start
yeah.
looking at my life and my body and what I'm eating and what I'm putting into it, that is not an area that has been spoken
Mm,
about. But now, even post-COVID, we're seeing about mental health has heightened. People are becoming more aware. There's lots of talk about self-care, but I think we still haven't scratched the surface, to be quite honest,
mm,
in terms
yeah.
of what it actually means to take care of ourselves, what it actually means to identify those signs of burnout. Because last year for me, 2023, I did experience burnout for the first time in my business. And it was subtle. It came in really subtle, but I
Mm,
hadn't changed the way I was doing things. And from the moment I started my business to where I was still running. I was still, really going for it and trying to build that, business and climb, climb, climb at a pace that was not sustainable. And it was my body. My body just began shutting down. And every time my
yeah.
son would get sick, he'd bring it home. I would catch
Yeah.
it and I would be sick for weeks, like months. And I'm like, this is not right. Like I would completely be
Mm,
unable to move at the same energy levels. And so this is definitely something that,
yeah, and one thing, like you said, regarding pace, this is one thing I've learned through this journey is to respect my pace. And yeah, because like you said, we come from a culture where it's grinding and hustling and all that, Um, like you said, not realizing that things have changed, especially because we're living here away from family. We don't have that kind of support where I can just go and drop off my kid at my mom for a day or my sister for a couple
that's
of
right.
hours. So we stuck with our kids 24/7. Yes, we do love our kids, but that's how it is. And as much as we love them, sometimes we need a break, but we don't have that luxury. So I've learned to respect my pace.
Gosh, you are speaking my language, because there is just such a tag of war in terms of being there, but also needing that break, because I cannot serve you from an empty cup. I have given you everything. I haven't served myself, and I have nothing to give you. And so when I am empty, I am not the best mom. I am not the best business owner. I am not the best employee. And so we need to honor our pace. And that is something that, because of social media and the climate that we live in, we see somebody else building a business, we see somebody else parenting, we see somebody else's lifestyle, and you're attracted to that. But of course, you can't keep up. You're like, I like what they're doing, and I would like to do that too, but you can't keep up because you're
Keep
only
up,
seeing snippets. You're only seeing
yeah,
highlight reels that we share and not the full story. And so,
true.
as a Black migrant woman and parent yourself, and I know you've touched on this a little bit, but what are the unique challenges you see migrant families facing that you support them in?
Ah, in my day job, because I'm still doing my business part-time. I'm not ready to leave my day job to do my business on a full-time basis. So in my day job as well, which sort of like link with my business, because I work mainly with migrants and refugees parents background. Okay. And as part of my portfolio, I'm in charge for the well-being, students' well-being. And as you know, well-being starts at home. So I do meet parents regularly and have a lot of conversation. And at this stage, I'm happy to say that that's where my coaching skills comes in a lot. So I do use it a lot in my day job. And one of the main thing I would say is, of course, the culture clash. Now, acculturation is one of the main things that parents struggle with, especially when the kids start to hit 10 years old onwards, right? Now, the parents wants to hold on to the culture, but the kids, they want to integrate. They don't want to look weird, like they said. They don't want to look weird. So they do everything to fit in, and the parents feel this. To be honest, Annie, there's a sort of like a sadness in the parents because they feel like the culture is going, I'm losing hold of my kids, and this, in the attempt to hold on to the kids, it leads to a lot of power struggle, fights, and
Tension.
communication breakdown. So these are the main issue that my grandparents face.
Mm.
And of course, sorry, that, yeah.
And so tell me, Enda, how did you then, because you've said you've got your day job, your everyday job, which is great, and I love how your business is something that you haven't fully moved into. You're still working your way there. But is having a business something you always wanted or saw for yourself, or is it something that you realized, hey, there's a gap here, because I know your background is in education. How did you arrive here at the business aspect of it?
Okay, you're right. And having worked, because it's been 16 years since I'm working with migrants and refugee parents, right? And yes, there's a lot out there for them in terms of support, especially the first 2 years with the settlement process, right? But most of them, after 2 years, they're on their own. And to be honest, Annie, I'm sure you agree with me, moving to a new country, you need more than 2 years
Oh,
to
absolutely.
really get the get the hang of things, right? And not forgetting the ones with the language barrier. It's even harder, right? Yeah. So that's where I noticed that, wow, okay, there's a gap here. in the sense that this group of people need support, that extra support that are not being offered to them. So I can bring in, okay, my educational field as well, and also my burnout. So my educational background, I bring it in the sense that I've worked with adolescents for 27 years. So I coach them, you know, on how to preserve that connection that they had with their children when they were in their country, and how to walk through it, to just let go. I call it holding on, but you let go at the same time. Right? So, and also that's where I bring in the burnout and how to take care of themselves and things like that. So that's where I found that little, it marries really well, and it fits really well. And that's when I say, okay, then this is what I want to do, to focus on.
I think it's such a complementary to what you do, to have that business, to address that need. How has that journey been like, having a business? Because I know it's so exciting when those seeds are planted in your heart and you're like, oh, I could have a business. I could be a coach and I could have this consultancy. How has that been, the building of, Enda Gilbert coaching and consultancy? How has that high been for you?
Like it's been like, I'm really proud of myself, the fact that I can do this, and with limited support in terms of like the home life and all that, in terms of limited support. But Annie, I go back to my journey with burnout. When I felt better, which by the way, now my vision has come back into my eyes, both eyes are okay. But I promised myself that, again, I will say this again, I will respect my pace and that I come first. So having that business and working, I've sort of like worked out the perfect balance, where on Tuesday is the day where I work on my business. And then on the Saturday morning until 2 p.m. And then that's when I switched off. Then there are 1 or 2 evenings where I dedicate an hour or 2 hours. So as you can see, it's like I'm not fully into it, but I'm doing this because I matter. And I know that I cannot pour, like you say, I can't pour from an empty cup. I want to be able to give my best to my clients. So it's okay if I end up with just 3 or 4 clients. I'm honoring my pace. I'm respecting them because they're getting the best of me.
I love what you just said there about honoring your pace. And you said that you're not giving 100% of yourself, but I think you are giving what needs to be given. I think sometimes we get it wrong by thinking we have to give absolutely everything in order to make a difference, but we can give what we are capable of giving, and still give the best to our clients.
Yeah.
Now, so we've spoken about the highs of, building that business, but I'd love us to change gears now and shed some light on some of the difficult parts, if you can, in this journey of building a business, especially as a Black migrant woman, that is often not discussed. What are some of the barriers you feel that you faced as you've hungered for that business to grow and wanting to really be successful? What are some of the barriers you've personally experienced?
I would say the number one barriers for me would be like, I feel like I have to prove myself 10 times more than a white coach to be seen or to be trusted, right? Even though I have all my qualification, I have years of experience, but I still find that it doesn't, it's a struggle, you know. You have to put it in more effort, you know, to get seen. And also I find that I don't know if you were going to come on later on regarding coaching, but I'm going to talk about working with coaches, because this is one of the most things that I find it was tough for me, right?
Please go ahead. Tell us, because
Okay.
people who are listening, Enda,
Yeah.
there are people who are coaches. You know, this is a
Yeah.
podcast for predominantly coaches. And if there's a white coach who's listening,
Yeah.
they're going like, if I had Enda as a client, what am I missing here? How could I be a better support to her? Because not one size fits all. How I support
Yes.
this client is not necessarily how I will support the other client, but there is also the culture barrier and the unique things that you're facing due to your identity.
Yes, yes, yeah. Yeah, so another challenge that I faced is getting the right training, but understand my culture, my identity, my fight
Yeah.
to support me, you know. I've had the pleasure of experiencing both working one-on-one with a business coach, and as well as in two mastermind where I was in groups, right? To be honest, with the one-on-one, I gain more, because as you know, Annie, coaching is all about connection,
Yes.
and trust, right? So working one-on-one with the coach, and then by the time we get to session 3, you've built that connection, build that trust. And I was able to voice out some of the things that I don't talk about, but I see it's like you see that it's a barrier, but I don't know how to get around through it, you know. And with the one-on-one coach, then she was able to support me in the way that she can, right? But in the group coaching one, it was more challenging because I felt highly visible but isolated at the same time, right? Highly visible because I was the only Black person in there, so you can't miss me, definitely. But isolated. But having said that, Annie, the coaches are brilliant. They really nice people, beautiful souls. They know their stuff. They know what they're doing, right? But I felt isolated because I felt like I was in a container where one size fits all. And there are times where I needed something different, because to tell me, for example, an example I give you, we're talking about, I remember one point we were talking about raising your price, okay? And I'm struggling with that. Why? Because my culture, my upbringing, we don't talk about money. I don't know about you, Annie, but my culture when I was growing up, we don't talk about money. Money is an adult thing, you know. It's only the adults who talk about money, and that money is the root to all evils, all these kind of things. And now I'm here trying to have a business and talking about raising your price. Yes, I get that, but I have this barrier due to my upbringing, due to my culture. So it's this kind of things that which I feel maybe if I was working with a Black coach, would understand me and would be able to support me more in terms of the mindset, you know?
I
So
completely get that piece about the money. I get that money mindset is so different from a cultural perspective. And also, given the niche that you're working with, you're working with migrants, you're working with refugee families. These are families who might be experiencing financial hardship. So,
Yes.
if you're in a group where you have seven-figure businesses and they're raising their prices and they are catering to a specific kind of group of people who that is not an issue, they're willing and happy to pay that amount. Yours is different, and there has to be some sensitivity. There has to be some consciousness and knowledge. How can we still build a business that is supportive, a business that is still profitable and thriving for you, Enda, but meeting the needs of your clients? Your ideal client is feeling seen, they're feeling valued, and this is something that they are, investing in. And it doesn't always have to be through the traditional route of it's them paying you. It could be, through government schemes. It could be through many other
It's
different,
different.
but it takes somebody knowing and having that sensitivity where, going back to what I said earlier, not one size fits all. And I think what you've hit there is something that a lot of Black coaches experience when they're working with great white coaches, but just don't quite understand what our issues are unique to us and how they can help us, because this is not something they've had to deal with. This is not an issue that they've had to have understanding about, because it's not part of their daily day-to-day life.
Yeah, it's true, Annie. And like, I learned a lot. Okay, I did learn a lot, but at the end of it, I felt like part of me was, no, something is missing. I didn't get what I wanted. And again, it was exactly what you said. It's like, how can I build a thriving and profitable business, but at the same time be sensitive and taking care of my client, because my niche is so different. I went in there hoping that when I come out, I'm like, yes, I know how to go about this now. But I learned a lot of other things, a lot which are helping me, my marketing and mindset and all that. But still, I felt something missing.
And the thing is, there are a lot of promises that programs make. There are a lot of promises that are made out there. And you go in seeing yourself, and we're given that picture of, imagine this is you 6 months from now, this is you 12 months from now. But what is not being addressed is you will be faced with A, B, C, D that you'll have to navigate either alone or with your coach. And nobody's talking about that. You're being sold the dream, but no one is really talking about the work that goes into making that dream, a reality. And so, what do you think from your perspective? Because you've really shared tangible things that I think a lot of Black coaches, coaches of color, or even simply business owners, the things that they've had to endure and face that are unique to them. What would you say to a coach who's listening, who is perhaps somebody white and they want to be more inclusive? What would they need to do in order to be more supportive to you? What do you think they need to have to be better equipped to support, say, if it wasn't just one of you, but maybe there were 3 or 4 in the group, right? Because the dynamics would change, What would they have to do to be a better support system to somebody like you?
Okay. To be honest, Annie, I've thought about this for a very long time. And the number one suggestion I would offer is just, if you have a Black person or someone from a minority group, especially when you're doing group coaching, right? If you don't have enough Black person to be put together or to have a group coaching. So for example, in my case, I was doing the women of color in there. So I think it would be good if spend at least, I don't know, maybe just an hour or 30 minutes one-on-one with that person. Do you get me? Yes, I do understand that group coaching, it's a group coaching. You pay for a group coaching, you get access with the coach in a group. But I would say that just one-on-one 30 minutes, and I don't know, 30 or you know what I mean? I need just make time for that person, because there are certain things that you don't want to voice out, or you don't feel comfortable to voice out, in the group, or for different reason, like um I don't want to sound stupid because I'm the only one going through this, you know. And so if we can have that just one-on-one, and it's okay, don't be afraid to ask that question. And I do understand some coaches, they not comfortable when it comes to what you're doing, Annie.
Yeah.
Right? Some white
Issues to do
coaches.
with race, they're not comfortable because it's an
Yes,
area where they're
yes,
not, it's not their cup of tea. It's nobody's cup
yes,
of tea.
that's it, But I believe that they all should go through a training where we'll teach them how to start a conversation about race without feeling scared, or I don't know if I'm saying the right thing. You know what I mean? So, and this will really, really help, Um, in one of the mastermind that I joined, we were pair up like buddy, okay? And there were three of us. We were all three migrants. But the disadvantage is because we were all in first year business. We all three of us, we just started. So yes, we try to support one another, but we were missing that expert support, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, somebody
When we're
who's
in the group
been in business a little bit longer.
a little bit longer, right? So that would be my number one suggestion, is that make time. I'm not saying give them special treatment. I'm not saying give us special treatment, but I'm saying even if it means you have to pay extra, I don't know, but I'm saying that make time for that one-on-one, and so they can have that conversation.
And I really honor you for voicing that, because I know it takes a lot to say that. These are things that we speak behind closed doors. These are not things that we voice out publicly. And I want to honor you for saying that, because if we don't speak up about these things, it just keeps happening. People might think they're doing the right thing, but not realize, why is it that in a group of X amount of people, the people of color don't quite make it through, or we're not seeing more six-figure business or seven-figure businesses. The numbers, the math is just not mathing, it's just not adding up. And so what you're advocating for here is equitable practices. Equitable practices, meaning there are those who have been held back systemically, structurally. They've been held back. What can I, as a white coach, do in my business when I do have those people of color come through? What can I do to have equitable practices in place so that I am beginning to level the playing field? Because this is an individual thing. How can I begin to level that playing field? And it takes a lot of intentionality. It takes a lot of prioritization in terms of your values. Is this something that I am prepared to do? And a lot of the times, unfortunately, when this is not an issue, when we're not being faced with headline news like George Floyd or Breonna Taylor, the awareness or the desire to do this is simply not there. But the moment we have those headline news, everybody's scrambling. What can I do to do better? How can I be a more equitable coach? And I think that the importance of having these conversations in and out of season is reminding people, especially those who are space holders, how can I do better? How can I be more inclusive in my space holding? How can I be more equitable whilst I am running this business. So I really appreciate you sharing that. And is there anything else you want to add before I go to my next question?
Basically, that's it. And in the sense that, because what I'm saying is, we just want to feel seen, heard, and that's it. Yeah, that's it.
We just want to be seen. We just want to be heard. For another migrant woman who's listening to this, Black woman, a woman of color, Indigenous woman listening to this, she might be a coach and she's feeling the stress, possibly burnout. She's feeling the struggle. What would you say to them? Because business is not linear. You don't start and then you just climb that ladder. It's up and down and up and down. What would you say to that person who is possibly experiencing burnout, feeling stressed out? What would your words of advice be to them?
Look, I want to say, keep going, and also know that, yes, it is tough for us. I'm saying us as Black women, and especially here in Australia, it is really tough. But you have a vision, you have your dream, you know where you want to go, right? And you keep going, and all these challenges that we're facing with, let's use it as your stepping stones to get to where you want to. When it feels like it's a lot, you want to stop, or you want to take a break, take a break. But then you come back to it, But that's how I see it. All these challenges, all these ups and downs, I see this as my stepping stone to get me to where I want to go. Yeah.
Challenges as stepping stones to where you want to go. That is so beautiful. And I want to just bring up the fact that you are now a published author. You contributed with a group of others who wrote the book Undefeated. Tell me a little bit about how that came about and what was the outcome of being part of such a project with other migrant women sharing their experiences.
Oh, this is by far the most rewarding project I've taken part in Australia, right? And so I'm part of the group Professional Migrant in Australia, and they were doing the project is to tell your story, okay, as a professional migrant. And I share my story because I actually call my story, "Where is the freaking village?" Because I shared my story about raising my son as a professional migrant without a support village, right? And because it wasn't an easy journey, Annie. Yes, I made that decision to migrate to Australia, but I experienced a lot of microaggression as a first-time parent. I remember like parents group, because I took 6 months of maternity leave, right? Like all moms, so to take care of my son. So I said, okay, let me join the parents group, and remember the first time I rock up, to be honest, I didn't feel welcome. And especially I was living in an area where at that time there were not a lot of Black family, So again, I was the first one. I was the only one, women of color in the group. I didn't feel welcome. And then there were comments about my accent and all that. So, and I didn't go back again. I went once and I didn't go back, you know. So so I share all this in my story, and I also give migrant parents like support, like some suggestion, what I did for me to come to be able to navigate this challenging time, you know. Yes, my dream was to go to parents group, make friends, and so that my, I will have that support. We can support one another, but it didn't happen. So instead, what I noticed is that when my child started school, I remember when we started year one, starting to make friends, then I became friends with the moms.
Yes.
You get me? So that's how, for me, that's how I was able to build that little village. But as a mom with a newborn and who was experiencing postnatal depression, it was really, really hard, So in my story, I challenged this saying, it takes a village to raise a child. So what happened when you don't have that village? What do you do? So yeah.
Oh, where can people pick up this book? Because I'm sure there are other powerful stories as well. But somebody who's listening to this and they're like, I need to hear more about this. And I'll put a link in the show notes. Where is it available?
This book is available on Amazon as well. They can get it on Amazon. And there's the Kindle version as well, And yes, and also Professional Migrants Group, which is on Facebook as well. They do sell it. And they were talk of putting it in some libraries, in local libraries. So I'm not sure where about exactly, but you can definitely get it on Amazon.
Okay, beautiful. I'm gonna pop that in the show notes. I just have one final question for you, and then I'm so grateful for your time. If fear was not a factor, how would you show up in your work?
If fear wasn't a factor, right?
If you removed fear from the work that you do, it could be in your business, it could be in your day-to-day work. If you removed fear, how would Enda show up?
More, how can I put this? Facely, more like do more, because especially my day job, Annie, there's a lot of barriers,
Yes.
And there's a lot of things that you want to do but you can't do, and like you said, sometimes there's the fear of, oh, what happen if I do this, or what can happen to me in my job professionally, you know what I mean? So if it wasn't a factor, I think I would definitely be doing more and just give. I feel I have a lot to give, but I do have a lot of barriers as well. So, and just do more, honey. Just being able to do more.
Being able to do more if fear was not
wasn't a factor. And also show up. As much as I try to be myself, all the time, try to be myself all the time. Maybe if he wasn't around, I would be more. You'd see more of Enda, the real Enda. Because sometimes I do have to hold back. I do hold back sometimes. So yeah, be more authentic. And this is a journey for me because I've come a long way. I've come a long way. And I work with a lot of coaches because I invest in myself a lot. And this is the work that I've been doing, and I'm starting to see the fruit of it. Like 3-4 years ago, there's no way you will get me on this podcast to be talking about things that I've talked about, So to me, it shows that I'm starting to realize that this is me. I'm just gonna say it, and so show up more, like be more authentic.
That's beautiful. And I love how you've plugged in coaches there as well, because we need them in our lives, in our culture, our where we come from, our background, particularly if you're Black or a person of color. The coaching industry, personal development, is not something we grew up knowing. It wasn't something we were exposed to. And so there's always that resistance because people don't understand what it is. It's like a luxury. Oh, I'll get that when I have a top paying job and I'm an executive somewhere, then I can afford to get a coach. This is like extra. This is like a cherry on the top on my ice cream. I can just have my ice cream. I don't need the cherry on the top. But when you begin to realize what a coach is, how they can support you, and the fruit that you're now talking of, and being able to show up in a podcast like this and share so openly is the fruit of having invested in coaching. So if you're somebody who's listening and coaching is something that maybe you're hearing about for the first time, you haven't looked into it, I highly, highly encourage you to begin to look into that, because for me personally, it's also something that has really, really changed my life since I started working with a coach, and I've worked with a couple of different coaches, but I have seen the difference that it has made to me personally and also in my business. So where can people find out more about you, follow you, and engage with your work, Enda?
Okay. I'm more on Instagram at Enda Gilbert Coaching and Consultancy. And also I've got my Facebook page, Enda Gilbert Coaching and Consultancy. My website is under construction. So I used to have a website, but it's going through some construction because I'm adding new things now. And one of the things that I'm working on, which I'm about to release maybe in 2 months' time, is developing my first online course, a self-paced on Power Struggle Bootcamp, guiding overwhelmed parents who are dealing with power struggle with their teenager, right? And I've done that because I do realize that parents busy, and so if they can have something where they can go through at their own pace, and we'll support them, and it's a very short and straightforward things. So I'm working on this. That's my next project. Yeah, do that.
Wonderful.
So, yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Enda, for your time. I am so grateful for you bringing so much of yourself to this conversation. It really, really, I don't take this lightly because I know I'm part of so many conversations between virtually closed doors. And I know it's not easy for us to come as we are and share the challenges that we're facing. So I just want to really honor you and thank you for your time today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Annie. I really enjoy our conversation. Thank you so much.
We are represented. We are represented. We are represented.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button and leave a review so this podcast can reach more online business owners, and together we can begin to normalize racial inclusion in the online coaching space. I'd love to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land where this podcast episode was recorded, the Wiradjuri people in central New South Wales, Australia. Music produced in Nairobi, Kenya by Patrick St. P. Mbaru and Kambua Mathu. Vocals by Joanne Matata.
Represented from coast to coast.